Hello, everyone. This is Stacy. Welcome to the landing. Today, we're taking you back in time with the voice of Bill Lewis, a man whose life and livelihood were tied to one of Eastern North Carolina's most important fisheries, Menhaden. This interview, originally recorded in 2009 by Barbara Blake as part of the Carolina Coastal Voices Project, captures Bill's memories of how he first stepped into the Menhaden industry in 1950. With warmth and candor, he reflects on what it meant to work the boats, the people who shaped the trade, and the way this once thriving fishery defined the communities along our coast. His story offers a glimpse into a way of life that has nearly disappeared but remains vital to our heritage. Let's listen as Bill Lewis shares his journey in the Menhaden fishing industry.
All right, I'm Barbara Blake, and I'm here in Beaufort talking to Bill Lewis on November 16th, 2009. So, Bill, why don't we start off by you telling me when were you born and what community did you grow up in?
Well, I was born in Trenton, in Jones County.
You were?
1930. I lived there, but my grandparents had raised me. Worked on a tobacco farm. I went to the 11th grade high school when I was 17 years old. I got my grandmother to sign the papers for me to go in the Army. And I went through boot training at Fort Bragg. And the Korean conflict had started then. And this colonel, it was over the troops that I was with there, he told me, said, Lewis, said, you know what's going on in Korea? I said, yes, sir. He said, you can get out of this if you want to. He said, you're still a minor. I said, how's that, sir? He said, well, you're not 18. And I said, well, let's start the procedures. I'm ready to go home. And I got out on the 10th of October, went to Trenton, got married on the 18th October. I was still 17.
Oh my gosh.
Moved to Beaufort, where my parents on my father's side were all from around in Carteret County. And 49, 48, my oldest son was born, Larry Thomas Lewis. In 49, I worked at a filling station out there on the corner with Leroy McIntosh, and it owned the station there next to Gaskell Feed Store. And in 1950, Warren Willis, which was Jimmy Willis's father, he talked me into going in the Sound Menhaden fishing.
Jimmy Willis's father.
Yeah. And it was a bad season. And in the fall, I went back to work to one of those stations out on the corner. I think it was a fuel station that where Mark Chavitt's place is now. But in 52, all the fishermen from that fished north of the Harvey Smith Fish Mill Company. They went on strike for higher wages. And he closed all of his plants down and sent the boats back to Reedville, Virginia. Everybody came home, and I went on one of the sound boats with a bunch of them old fellas. One was Captain Joe Buttrey. He was captain on a boat up at Fort Mama in New Jersey. And it was just a bunch of older fellas, and I was the youngest man on the boat, I guess. And there was one colored man that fished on there with us. But the rest of them were in the Union. And the old boat we fished on was the name of it was Lord T.
Lloyd?
Lord, yeah.
Like Lloyd, Lloyd T.
Lord T. That was it belonged to Mr. Will Potter, Peggy Potter's father. And in the fall, we had a good summer in the Sound. She didn't care about 200,000, but you could load her every day, 1-2 sets. There was a lot of fishing there in 52. And in the fall, we went on one of the outside boats on the Miss Pillion.
Miss Pillion.
That was one of the larger outside boats then. And Mr. Potter had 2 more boats there, that Doswell, Edwards, and the Mace. W.A. Mace was the name of her. That was some of them old boats that were built back there when the factories were down there on Linsville Point. But we had a good fall fishing on the big fish and on the small fish, peanut hulls, they call them.
Mm-hmm. What'd you call them? Peanut hulls?
Yeah, that's what they call them, peanut hulls. How many was it? You could take one of those country matches. I think you could put 18 of them running through their eyes on one of those country matches. That's how small they were.
The fish?
Yeah.
I've heard of peanuts.
That's what they call them.
Same thing, peanut hulls, peanuts.
Peanut hull. That's what they look like, a shell peanut.
Uh-huh.
And those fish was up Neuse River this past summer. Were larger fish than what they were back there. And that was in 52.
Can I ask you something, Bill?
Yeah.
You said that there was a strike going on.
That was in 52.
What were people getting paid, do you remember?
On those outside boats, I think the pay was about, for single Sherman, I think it was either 11 or 12. I think it was 11 cents.
Per what?
To the
1,000?
That was for single Sherman. Seine setters, first boat engineers, I think got 12.
Per 1,000?
Yeah, that's what they paid.
Uh-huh.
And
is that what you were getting?
no, on them sound boats, I think the pay was, because it didn't carry them in the men, and it was either 13 or 14 cents for the single Sherman.
Ah.
And as the years went on, price of stuff, fish meal and oil, and rising, going up, and in 54, I fished on.
Wait. But did the strike work?
No, it didn't work.
So they eventually just gave up and went back fishing?
They give up and went back on the boats fishing. All them old fellows that was on the Lord T were old fishermen, and there wasn't any of them in there that was in the Union.
And that one black guy that was with you?
Yes,
was in the Union?
His name was Julius Davis. He lived out there on Live Oak Street, out there across from the Beaufort School. And he later on he quit fishing and went to work at Hamilton Furniture Company. Got out the fishing business because he was getting old too.
Yeah.
And
do you remember how long the strike lasted?
well, it went back the next year.
Oh, but there was a union here then?
In '53, and when they come down here that fall in '53 for the fall fishing from up north, the boats, Captain Joe wanted me to get some men, help him get some men, and I asked him about going up there that summer fishing with him, and he said they already had his crew. So that's when I quit having dealing in the fishing with it. He fished the Pauline down there for Piggy Potter one fall after Elwood got on the what? It may have been when Elwood went on the Gregory Pool, but in '54 there I went on the Barnrail Willis in Elwood. You know, that worked down into the factory. He was on the Elwood was running mate boat engine. I was captain boat engine.
Bonner Willis?
Fishery Bonner Jr.
Was that a wooden steamer?
It was a wooden
Minesweeper?
110-foot World War II sub chaser. They converted into a shad boat. Mm-hmm. And in '55, I went engineer for him. We went to Fernandina Beach, Florida that spring. And the fishing played out there. We come back to Beaufort. And that's when he sold the boat to Harvey Smith.
When who sold the boat?
Barnard Jr.
Oh, that was his own boat?
That was it. Well, it belonged to his father. And he had two sisters that I don't know just who was ownership in the boat.
So there was a time where some of the shad boats were independently owned?
The Evelyn L. Willis was a sub chaser. It belonged to a fellow that run the Standard Oil dock uptown there, Lund Willis. Mm-hmm. And let me see, the Simpson brothers belonged to Captain Berkeley Simpson and his brother Harold. Harold was run the Texaco dock uptown. And then there was another one of those chasers that was named the Miss Moorhead, belonged to Charlie Bennett from Moorhead. The captain that fished her, his name was Percy Garner. And he lived right around the corner of about 2 blocks from where we are now. And there was a number of boats that Captain John Larry from Reedville, Virginia, he had the John O, which was a World War II minesweeper, and the Jane M was a World War II minesweeper. And his brother, Lynn Larry, had a tugboat that he had converted into a Menhaden boat. And he put cut her in two, put 20 feet, a 20-foot section in the middle of her, which she carried about 1,250,000. She wasn't refrigerated. Hmm. And there were some of them that I didn't know. Mr. Potter had a fleet from up there from Reedville that would come down here, belonged to the Haneys. I think it was 5 or 6 of them, or 7, something like that. And one fall there we had, I believe it was 15 boats down there to the plant. That's when they put that suck-up pump on the east end of the dock, and Mr. Potter had built another raw box so it could handle it, get the fish out.
But how did that work when somebody owned the boat independently? Did they sell to different factories?
Well, Barner Willis, they sold the Piggy Potter down there. And Lon Willis had Evelyn L. Willis. He sold there. And then Miss Moorhead belonged to Charlie Bennett. He was selling to Wallace Fisheries over in Moorhead.
But they had to buy their own fuel.
Yeah, they had to. Yeah, they had to pay for their own fuel, and it's like it was always on there. The crew paid for the groceries.
Mm-hmm.
And
why do you think the companies eventually owned all their own fleet?
What, one company?
Yeah, eventually all the companies owned all their boats, didn't they?
Well, it started out. Zapata Haney. That's when they started to buying up all those, individual boats, and they opened up a plant in Mississippi. They had one to Reedville, and there was one at Cape May, New Jersey. I can't think of what the name of it was, but they had a plant there. Because that's where there's Reedville boats fished in the summertime up there. And on the Gulf, at Mega Protein, they went to buying up all those plants. The ones that, like Wallace, and there was 3 plants at Moss Point at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Smith, Quinn, and it was a private owned factory, tuna plant it was at first, and then it developed into a Menhaden plant.
So the companies were growing and consolidating and buying vessels and plants and...
Yeah. They started making larger boats to carry more fish, refrigerating them. And at one time on the Gulf, there was Wallace and Smith at Cameron, Louisiana. And at Abbeville, that was a Smith plant. There was one plant there.
Mm-hmm.
That's where David Yates fished. And at Dulac, Quinn had a plant there, and then Harvey Smith built one there. And then Empire, Wallace had a plant. And there was another company, I can't remember what the name of it was now, it's been so long. But
well, I bet it got cost prohibitive with the vessels getting bigger. Nobody could possibly own their own anyway.
No, it all went to one company there, like, I think Mega Protein owned it all now.
Yeah, that's funny, isn't it, how that works? Well, Bill, so you started off mainly working in the sound fishery.
Yeah, on the sound boats.
Uh-huh.
And I worked at the Lennoxville for Mr. Potter from 62 until I think it was 71.
Did you like those old wooden boats?
Huh?
Did you like those old wooden boats?
Well, I worked on the Jarrett Bay. That was a wooden boat before I got the captain on the Lennoxville. Worked on the Core Sound with Captain Elwood. On the Jarrett Bay with Captain Steve Dudley. That was Matthew's daddy, Tweety Bird.
Wow.
And, on the old Lord T with Captain George Lewis, he was just a relative of mine, lived down in Lewistown. And Captain Gene Dudley, he was brother to Captain Steve Dudley. He had the boat Sound. And when he gave it up, Walter Goodwin, he was pilot on there for Captain Gene, and Mr. Potter turned the boat over him for Captain, and that's Steve's daddy.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, that was, and when he got off over, there was Mr. Potter put different ones that they didn't stay on them long.
Well, tell me about the Sound fishery. Where did you go?
Well, most of mine was either in Harker's Island Channel there or in Gull Island Slough.
Where's Gull Island Slough?
Well, when you go in from the west end of Harker's Island, from where the slough goes from Middlemarsh over the Harker's Island Channel, when you get over there in the channel, you head right for Cape Lookout Lighthouse. It goes up in there, it's a gull rock on low water ebbs out, and it would be covered with seagulls. And that's where they got the name Gull Island Slough.
Oh, so that's towards Shackelford.
Yeah, over there next to Shackelford.
Uh-huh.
There was a hole up in there. It was a gathering place for Menhaden. And another good place was down off Davis Shore. I left the dock one Sunday night, 12 o'clock from the plant, and it was going to Barry's Bay up between Atlantic and Cedar Island. And I got off of Davis about 3 o'clock. There was always 5 or 6 men up on the bow looking for fish.
3 o'clock in the morning?
You could see them firing the water. We come to them, it looked like something had a great big light that lit everything up. The fish, they were solid.
Oh, it was the phosphorescence in the water?
Yeah.
It looked like there was fire in the water?
And the fellow I had dry boatman rowing dry boat was named William O'Neill. They called him Corporal. He got that from the Army. He was in World War II. That's what he come out of the Army with that name, Corporal O'Neill. And only lights we had were flashlights in the first boats. And I told Bill, I said, get off there right in the middle of them, and you keep right steady blinking that flashlight.
All you had? Why did you only have flashlights?
Well, I had an old set of steel boats that I used with that Piggy Potter got from Harvey Smith. I think they were just about worn out, but they drew more water than the Lennoxville did. But Bill got in the middle of that raft of fish, and I went in there and filled her full. And when the airplanes come over at daylight, Steve Oakley was flying for both the fishers.
Uh-huh.
We were alongside putting fish on deck. And the next day, we went back down the Sound. Walter Goodman got a load of fish out of that same place of fish, I think.
Really?
On the Bogue Sound.
How did you make a set in the nighttime?
Were just
Were the fish still glowing?
just used to making, the fellow that was mate with me was Shag, Jimmy's uncle.
Yeah, that was Jimmy's uncle?
Yeah. You knew him, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, you cooked on up at Bobo.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next night we left and went right on. Didn't stop till we got down there to Barry's Bay off between Atlantic and Cedar Island there. And we caught a load of fish that day. Of course, I think we made 2 sets.
But Bill, were the fish glowing? Is that how you could see them at night?
Yeah, this solid fish, you could tell by the way that phosphorus in the water, the way they would light the water up. It looked like somebody had a big light. And
so there they were, this big glowing place.
Yeah.
And you just wrapped your net around it?
Yeah, I went and took my dry boat in. I told them I said, get right in the middle of them. And back there, later on, but I had Captain Steve Dudley, a pilot on the boat for me. That was Matthew's daddy. And engineer was named Daniel Dixon. They call him Babe. And when we got there to the red light that morning, Elwood, he got off the Pauline. He got to Jarrett Bay coming to town. He had power blocks, you know, at the first set of power blocks at Piggy Boat. And we were ahead of him, 30 minutes, I reckon. But from the red light to Davis up to Orchard Creek, that morning that's where you went in the first boat with Jimmy, remember? Mm-hmm. Steve and I counted 11 places of fish far in the water. And he had done it, that's where I learned that from him. And he had done it so many times, I mean, he could pretty well tell you about what size schools were, like it was 20,000 or 35, 40, 50,000. And it wasn't big places of fish, but they were solid. And we got up to Orchard Creek Light, I stopped. And when they would come along there, Marky Mason was piloting on the Jarrett Bay for him, which was on the Pauline. He was cooking for him. And the fella that was pilot for him was Captain Fred Fulcher from down in Williston. But he wasn't on there on the soundboat with him. But when he got along there to me that morning, Marky called me and wondered what was wrong. I said, Marky, a fan belt on the water pump broke and the Babe's changing it. I said, I'm coming on behind you. And I held the boat just where he could see my mast light and running lights like I was following him. When it started getting daylight, I went back down and I went to hitting them small places of fish, short seine them. I didn't use all the net because I had a long purse seine.
How do you short seine?
Huh?
How do you short seine?
Just use about a third or half of the net to go around them.
Mm-hmm. You don't let it play out all the way.
Them small places of fish, they were solid and they wasn't wild. Mm-hmm. And Steve Oakley was flying the airplane for Mr. Potter. And when he come over, he saw what I was doing. He never even called me anything, and he went right on up to Barris Bay. And he went clean to Cedar Island looking for Elwood. Looked for fish for him, and he didn't find anything. What fish were right there in front of Davis. And when Elwood got back up to me, I had fish up in the hole of the Lennox field, about 280,000. And I had made 4 or 5 sets. And we were alongside Bailey in the set when he come around the beacon and head over there to the southeast next to the banks. And I heard Steve tell him, so if you get this place of fish in, you'll get you a nice set. And when they dropped off Barbara, he run his purse boat right slow till he got up there when Steve told him to open the boats. Apart like, the set, he opened both engines wide open. And then fish walked away from him. He just didn't nick them. Cut the edge of them, caught about 35,000, 40,000. And after Steve got him set, I called him. I said, you got anything? Is there anything left? He said, yeah. I said, Bill, there's a place over here. If you can get them in, said you might not be able to carry them all. He said, I see that you got put in your hole full. I said, yep. I said, well, head me for them. And when I saw them, I told them boys, I said, right now, go ahead and open them wide open, both engines. Open them up. And when I let go of the boats, he said, you'll never get them. He said, they were going away from you. And Barbara, they went up to a pound net that that run off from the northwest to the southeast off of Piney Point Slough, where you go across to Nelson Bay. They went up to that pound net and turned, and we were just getting ready to come together with the purse boat. They went right back down in the net, just as pretty.
Oh my gosh.
And there was about 100,000 of them. And we webbed on and got up to, and the purse boat, the mate boat was aground on the fish in the net on the bottom.
What does webbed on mean? What is webbed on?
We were webbing the net back in the boat.
Oh, you're hauling her in?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I called Elwood, and he come up there alongside on the port side of the big boat, and his daddy, old man Rob, he was on there with him. And I asked Elwood, I said, take your purse boats and just back them up to the backside of the mate boat, and had them fellows just to put them in gear to wash them fish out from under. And my crew got there where they could get the web and web on right on up to the bellback. And he said, when I get to the plant, I'm going to the airport, I'm going to cuss Steve Oakley out.
Because he didn't set him on anything.
Yeah, he set him at that place of fish, but them wild fish, I had always done that, the way I would open him. What he did, see, he would run his boat right slow, and when it opened his boat apart to see it, that's when he opened the engines wide open, and that noise, the fish went going away from it.
Now, some fish will do that and some fish won't. Right?
I know it.
So there's certain seasons where they're wilder?
Yep. And Elwood's daddy was he had fished with me the first year I fished at the Lennoxville. But anyway, I heard him say, Elwood said, I'm going to cuss him out. And Rob, that's what, his name was Robert, they call him Rob. He said, yeah, and I'm going to cuss him too. But you mentioned something just then about the wild fish. I think it was in 71. The fishing was bad that year. And I went to Chesapeake Bay, a mate's job up there on tugboat with Captain Evan Piner. He was working with Raymond Davis Towing Company. And I stayed up there, I think it was 65 or 67 days without coming home. I was supposed to have worked 20 days on and 10 off. But anyway, we were hauling that slag from the steel mill at Baltimore in Maryland. And they were building a 13 highway up the Eastern Shore. And we come down the bay, had 2 loaded barges. I think they carried about 1,800 tons of that slag that come out of that steel oil. And I had told Evan, I said, you can tell R.W., that was Captain Raymond's son that was in charge of it then, to have somebody replace me when we get to Nancock, Virginia. And the wind was blowing southeast the whole way down there till we lay behind Tangier Island 3 days and 3 nights waiting for the wind to let up. And when we got to Nancock, Virginia, the forward barge, half of the slag had washed off the port side. That's the way the barge was laying in the water, the front one. We had 2 of them. And we got there and there wasn't no replacement for me. I helped them put the 2 barges to the dock and make the tow up for them to go back. First thing I did, I threw my bag on the dock. And I told them, I said, I'm going home. Cause I hadn't seen my young ones and they're going on 3 months. And I caught a ride out to the highway. And the fellow put me out there where the bus stopped at. It was about 12 o'clock. And when I caught the bus that morning, It was on a Friday. I got to Norfolk. It was, I think, around 5 or 6 o'clock before I got one that was coming all the way down to 17 in Newman. I don't know how far south it went. Probably Jacksonville, Florida. But anyway, I called my wife from Norfolk and told her for her and the young'uns to meet me in Newman. I said, I'll miss that 11 o'clock bus. I said, but y'all be at the bus station in Newman and pick me up. And they met me there. That was on Friday night. And Sunday morning at 7 o'clock, we were sitting eating breakfast, and telephone rang. I had one on the wall in the kitchen. I got up there to answer it. And it was R.W., Raymond's son. He said, catch the next bus from Beaufort and meet Evan back in Baltimore.
For the barge?
Yeah, meet the tug when he got back. I said, R.W., I went up there and I stayed 60-some days, and I was supposed to work, was 20 days on and 10 off. And I said, the deckhand we had on there, you take them off of that and put him on Ben Piner's boat. And Ben was captain on one of them other tugs. He was from here in Beaufort. And I said, I'll tell you what you do. You just send me in full pay what you owe me. And that, when Monk had the Lucian Mail, that was one of them minesweepers, World War II minesweepers, like the Pauline was, wooden boat. And I went around there that Sunday evening where he lived around there on Fulford Street and talked with him about, going fishing with him for the fall. So he gave me a job running the mate boat engine. And the fella he had for mate, his name was Roy Smith. They called him Brigham. He was a great big fella. And we took the 2 shares, the mate's share, and the first boat, and put it together, divided it up, split it up between us. Brigham told me, he said, you know more familiar, no more about working the men. I said, and said we'll split that up, and I forgot how many it was. It was something like 31 or 2 cents a piece, what the 2 shares combined was. And when the big fish hit in our Norfolk Cape Lookout knuckle that morning, Steve had seen them up there off of Ocracoke the day before. It seemed like me it was on a Monday. Anyway, it was out about 12 miles northeast of the knuckle off Lookout. And the place he set us at, we were the first boat to set. And they ducked us. We went under the net. We got the net back, went back to them. We caught them that time. But I judged around 500,000 that set, and a big row shad on deck. And Charlie and Elwood was on the Pauline, Charlie on the Menhaden. They were inshore of us about 2 miles, and both of them were sitting at this place of fishing with net size. And they missed them. But I don't know how many times they set on, 2 or 3, 4 times. Anyway, Steve had left, come to the field to get gas. And we pumped that set of fish we got and headed on in there by him. And I went up in the masthead, and Barbara, I looked off the edge of them off there. There was a place probably about 100 foot round, right solid. And out ahead of them was the main part of the fish, and they were headed right toward the beach. And we got in shore of them and dropped off, and had weights. They looked like little tom weights. They weighed about 10 pounds apiece. I think I had about 7, 8 on each side of the center ring on the bottom of the net, with about a fathom of line on each one of them. And we went down there to that place of fish, and I told Monk, I said, let's just run them just hard enough to get the net out. And we opened up, I guess, it seemed like me was, 40 minutes them houses across the street, running right slow enough to get the net out. And when we come to the back edge of them, I could have jumped in them. The top that was up there showing the color and whipping. And we put the Don weight, when they dropped that, I kept looking down there, and it wasn't long before I saw one, and the water was clear. He looked like it was about 6 or 8 inches long. I said, Monk, we got them fish. Take that weight off of her right now. And when they set it in the cradle inside the boat, she exploded just like that. The whole net, they washed her from boat to boat. And Steve was coming over the beach, over the east of the beach there, above the lights out at the hammock off of Shell Point. And he saw that strike we had. So he called Clarence. That was David Willis's daddy. He was pilot on that for us. And he called Clarence, said, who's that got that strike? And Clarence said, old Luck has got him.
Lucky.
And we put the boards up and run them off the top and up each side of the galley. She had 2 holes on her. And filled the back hole. And Barbara, we got 810,000 off of her. That's what we got.
Oh my gosh. That was a big set.
We couldn't carry them all. And I know we turned out 400,000 or 500,000 because off in that deep water, you couldn't turn them loose to give somebody else to, drop your net back down. If it had been along the beach, you could have done it, but we were off in that 50, 60 feet of water, and we had to roll them over the course to get rid of them. And that was one of the times that with the airplane, he wasn't there to help us.
And so sometimes the fish sort of sink and you make your set, it looks like they're not there, and then all of a sudden they whoosh come up.
Yep.
So when you say they exploded, all of a sudden they, boom, there they were?
That net, it looked like she turned feather white from boat to boat. And that's when Steve saw that strike. He wanted to know who had that set, and Clarence told him, said, old Lucky's got him. I said, I don't know if he was talking about me or Monk. So, a lot of times I had to beg him to set. There were some times when fishing in the fall out there that I enjoyed it. I mean, that time when that fall Amaganet sung, that wasn't no pretty night that night. I guess you heard Lionel talking about it.
Were you out that night?
Yeah, I was on Menhaden with Charlie Pittman.
Oh.
We were up out of Oregon down at Wemble Shoals. At first set that morning, we filled a hole and just about 500,000 of them big fish. And Charlie wanted another 100,000. We made 9 stabs, didn't catch a fish. Didn't even go aboard the big boat. And then about 3 o'clock that evening, got a net full of them. And then they went to squalling. What are we going to do with them? I said, Charlie didn't want but 100,000. Well, that morning, he pumped that first set. Captain Fred Fulcher told him. No, it wasn't Fred, it was Curtis Lewis. He was on one of Harvey Smith's boat. He bailed about the same, pumped about the same amount, about 500, took his boats up and went across the shoals to Hatteras. He told Charlie, said, you got some bad weather coming. He said, you better take them boats up and come on. And that's when Charlie said he went to whine and he won another 100.
What boat was Charlie captaining?
Huh?
What boat were you on, though?
On the Menhaden.
Oh, the Menhaden. Okay.
Yeah, she was a converted minesweeper that Mr. Potter bought.
Okay. So what happened?
Well, we come down there to the tower that night. The wind was southwest. And we were so close to it that there's a Coast Guardman on it, threw the spotlight on, and Charlie told them on the ring frequency that we were headed for Cape Lookout. So after we got across on the western side of Hatcher Shoals, I guess we was about 4 or 5 miles off the beach, and went right on down toward Ocracoke. And about 10:30, when the Amagansett and the other sister ship that come by us, both of those were deck loaded with those big fish. And they were splitting the swell, the sea open, going through them like that. And that fella had turned the boat to get her stern to the sea to free herself of water. And when he got side to in that sea, the starboard boards gave away and she went right on over.
Damn against it?
Yeah, and the other boat was right there close enough that they pulled all the men out the water. It saved them, and engineer with one man that he was one, and then down the engine room went down with the boat.
The engineer did?
Yeah, they never did get him.
What was his name?
Don't know what it was. Most of them fellows were from Virginia. There wasn't no North Carolina men on there.
Did you see it?
No, it happened. We come along there after it happened.
Oh my gosh.
And let's see, that was on a Wednesday. Wednesday night when that happened. When the moon come up, that about 12 o'clock, you could look off to the southeast, and there were 6 rows of swell, and that every one of them had a shadow to it. The swell did. And the 6th one always would be the biggest and the longest shadow to it. It taken us, I think it was 18 hours from Hatcher's Light to the back of the lighthouse there back at it. And we laid there till Saturday morning, and it was 3 or 4 boats. I don't know how many it was. Monk was on. He got caught in that too on Lucian Mail because they've come down there behind a ship way offshore. Followed a ship from Hatcher Shoals.
Oh.
I forgot who was on there with him, but we come in on Saturday morning. I think it got 410,000 off of Lynn Ann. The fish, not being refrigerated, and we caught them Wednesday. That was 4 days. They were 4 days old.
They were rank, weren't they?
Yep, they were.
What time of year was that? What month was it?
It was I believe it was in November.
So it was cold.
Yeah, Lionel had that, he talked about that boat. I believe he was on that other boat, if I ain't mistaken. It was in November when it happened. And we laid to the dock 6 weeks. Didn't even take the lines off the piling. Bad weather. And when we did get back out, the bay leaves, that's the small fish that come out of Chesapeake Bay up there.
What do you call them?
Huh?
What do you call them?
Bay leaves.
Like a bay leaf?
Come out of Chesapeake Bay.
The bay leaves.
Bay leaves, yeah. And we got one set on the back to the lighthouse there off there about 3 miles. And put, I think it was about 700,000 on Lynn Ann. And I don't remember if we caught any more before Christmas or not. But I had a little bonus check coming from the sound fishing for the summer. That was before no, let's see. Yeah. What year was that? 69 or 70? It's been so long I can't remember it.
So the sound fishery was in the summertime?
What?
You fish the sounds in the summer?
Yeah, we start around the 15th of May, starting inside. And fish right on up till it played out in the fall, the time for them piggy one of them big boats, the sound boats, all taking the new one out the way from having that fleet of outside boats down there, and the big ones, where they wouldn't be in the way.
So then y'all would quit about November, maybe?
Yeah, it would be around, somewhere around last October, 1st of November.
And then here the big boats would gear up and go ready to get offshore?
Yeah,
outside?
they've always looked for the big fish to come across the shoals up there on Thanksgiving, up there, the hatcheries. And that was, that goes back as far as when Menhaden first started fishing. I was going to tell you something about them fish up Neuse River that so many of them dying up there this year. Mom and Daddy lived in Newman in the 30s. Daddy worked at Craven Motor Company there at the Chevrolet place. And in summertime in July, every Saturday night there'd be 4 or 5 of them fellas. They'd all go down to Flounders Beach above Cherry Point fishing, flounder fishing. And I can remember, Barbara, if it had been last week or last night, the flounders would go down and put the nose right up on the dry sand for oxygen. And the water then was covered with dead fish back there. That was in the late 30s, 38, 39. Because I wasn't but a boy. I wasn't even 10 years old.
How about that, though? And here it is, still happening.
Yeah, that's what. And used to, they were blaming on the Menhaden boats going up there fishing and losing fish, but they couldn't blame that on them since that factory closed down there. What's been 5 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been 5 years.
But I worked hard all those years that I was captain on. When my oldest son, Larry, graduated from high school, he was in the first graduating class to East Carteret, along with David Wheatley, Jules' brother.
Uh-huh.
And he come on the boat that summer, and he found out that the work was just too much for him, too hard. He had been on that the summer before. He was in the 11th grade. And I was kind of lenient on him. I didn't drive him. I give him something like putting the rings on, something, that it wouldn't be no strain and pulling in it. But we were fishing down to the Cape that morning, and I looked for him. He was laying in the floor in the wheelhouse. He told me, Daddy said, it's just too much and my back won't take it.
Oh.
I said, all right, you'll have to get something to do. And he got him a job at Camp Lejeune, working on the base up there. And he was staying at Hubert at outside Swansboro with his mother's sister and her husband, which her sister was named Carol, and her husband was a retired Marine. And he stayed up there until the draft boy got after him. And that's when he volunteered, went in the Air Force. He put 20 years in the Air Force. He met a girl from up there out of Goldsboro, out at Pikeville, I believe the name of it, the little place outside of Goldsboro there. Her daddy was a turkey farmer. Anyway, they had a boy and a girl. And when Larry got out the Air Force, he come back, worked in the tax office in the town hall here in Beaufort a year. If he could have got up there at Cherry Point then, he could have retired last year.
Oh.
But this past August 25th, he retired from Cherry Point 20 years, which gave him 40 years with the government.
Whew.
And his wife works the belt. Do you know anybody who works, a gray-headed woman named Willie?
I've probably seen her.
That's his first wife.
Okay.
But this woman he's married to now worked on the base there where he worked, and I think she's got another year up there before she retires.
Oh.
But his son, this makes the 12th year he's taught school at the middle school in Moorhead.
Oh, nice.
And the sister, she's at the middle school in Newport. She was at Havelock, and when they built that new middle school out in Newport, she transferred to that one. I think she's got 5 or 6, 7 years teaching up there. And like I said, I worked hard to try to get them where they wouldn't have to work like I did.
Yeah.
And when Clyde graduated, Miss Carteret, I had it fixed for him to go to Carolina, go to school. He didn't want that. He wanted to go on that shad boat.
There's always one in there.
Yeah. My daughter, when she finished at West Carteret, me and my first wife had split up after 20 years. And she went to Carteret Community College, started the first time and went till Christmas and quit. The next year she started the same thing and quit. I said, "You're just wasting money. You're not going to go through this whole thing." And she got married, a boy named Kenny Brown, and that didn't last long.
Well, did your one son go fishing on the shad boat? Did your son go fishing on the shad boat?
Yeah, I took him. He started out when Bobo did.
Okay, what's his name?
In 75, Clyde Lewis.
Okay, what's he doing now?
He's been to the port. He's got 33 or 4 years to the port over there.
Okay.
He's an electrician. He went to Carteret Community College, took that electrician course 3 nights a week for 2 years. The second year he went, that teacher told him, said, "You know more about it than I do. You ought to be the teacher and let me be the student."
Oh, that's nice. Well,
But
Bill, do you remember the first steel vessel
What, fishing?
that Piggy Potter had?
I guess it was the first steel one. I mean, with the Lennoxville for the sound boats.
Okay.
And for the outside boats, I guess the Gregory Pool.
It wasn't the Pauline?
They were wooden boats.
Pauline was a wooden boat?
Pauline, Lucian Mail,
Gosh, no kidding.
and the Lynn Ann, or World War II minesweepers.
So were you the first captain of a steel boat?
No, Elwood. He fished the first year in
The Lennoxville.
the Lennoxville in 50. Let's see, what year was that? 58 of it. He fished in 58 and 59 and 60. 60. I went Cap Morning in 62, my first year. Elwood was on the Core Sound wooden boat. Let's see, in 57, because I was pilot on that one. And his brother Robert was mate. And Monk, he was dry boatman for Elwood. And I figure he had the Lennoxville built for him. He fished the one, let's see, 58, 59, 60, 61, 4 years he was on her.
Mm-hmm.
And my first year on it was in 62. I jumped right off to a good start. That he got ahead of the rest of the boats, and on the catch, I was almost 1 million fish ahead of Captain George Lewis. And he had the new wooden boat, Lloyd T. And Elwood's brother Robert, he was fishing on there with him. But I lost a big set of fish out of Davis, tore my net up. I had enough fish in in the net when I took Tom weight off of her. I called Wally Goodwin. He was on the boat sound. I said, Wally, if you'll come help me, I'll give you a load of fish. And he said, I'm going down here. Said, Steve's got me a place of fish off Davis Island. I was down off Davis. Barbara, he went down and took a net full of fish in and lost a brand new bell bag out the net. Had too many fish.
Oh my gosh.
I bailed almost 200,000 out the net, and it was getting late in the evening. And we dropped the cork line down alongside the big boat and tried to roll the dead fish out the net, and our rib roaster tore up that bag, and
what does rib roast mean?
Tore the net up.
Why do you say rib roast?
But anyway, the next morning we went down there and pulled the net on the dock. Levi's crew was working in the net house on the dock down there, and that was before they moved up in front of the office.
Uh-huh.
And that week, George Lewis loaded every day. He got ahead of me. At the end of the season, I could not catch him. They had a spare net there, but Monroe wouldn't let me have it. And I think that was more or less done so George could get ahead of me. And at the end of the season, he beat me 200,000 fish.
Oh my gosh.
And the next summer in '63, that's when I poured it on him. I had the little 12 million that summer. I was top man, and I beat him over 4 million.
Wow, how'd you do it?
Making a lot of sets.
Did you have a better net?
And most of them I caught, I'd be by myself. Just like we did, I mentioned it up there about the day we loaded there, and Monk and Eugene was there looking at us. But I found them fish like that, they'd be in that mud like that, and right out to the head end of each streak of mud, you'd see one of them little red-billed strikers go down when they come up the cut, try to catch him by the tail. And
what's a red-billed striker?
It's a bird. They get over a Menhaden like that. Sometimes they'll get right there and stay right there in one place watching that. When he comes up, he'll hit at him like that. And he's got a long red bill on him, and they're not too big, not big as a seagull. But several times down there, the boats would leave. It would be blowing up out the northeast, and I'd see them mud streaks across Nelson Bay. And somebody, who was it? Benny Willis, I believe it was. He was on the core sound, and Waldo was on the boat sound. They had left me down there, and I heard Benny call alongside bailing and sitting. I went in the wheelhouse or something, a cigarette, I believe it was. I heard Benny call Wall and wonder where I was. Wall told him, said, last time I saw him, he was letting his boats go apart. Setting.
Letting his boats go apart.
Yeah. I didn't know I mentioned about the time that Gerald Honeycutt was flying for Eugene Hodges, and the fish were over in Nelson's Bay off of sea level. And Gerald was setting Eugene on places of color. I was piloting on Taylor Creek there with Jimmy. And Jimmy would set on a place of whipping fish. And while he would be off on the set, I'd go around and look, try to find a place. And we go alongside and bail or pump, and we get through pumping. I came right to where the best place was next. And we laid right there and loaded, setting on whipping fish. And Gerald was right up there flying right over us. We didn't have no airplane. And I was finding the places to fish for Jimmy to set on.
So you're seeing the whips.
See the whip when they come up whipping. And it would be places of some Barbara, you couldn't get them all in a whipping. But Gerald, they were in the mud, see, and Gerald was looking for color. Huh. But that day we loaded on Monk and Eugene there, and there was Dick Rod up there flying for both fishers. and Pat Smith for Eugene on the hush puppy. I wouldn't have took nothing but that. One set that monk was laying right to the back of the net, and it was about 75,000, 80,000, and they made a little show in the net there, and Monk called Dick, said, Jimmy's got a good one this time. Said, find me one like it.
Yes.
He said, if you knew what they were doing, you wouldn't need me. But Monk didn't know. And there they were. They were looking for color, him and Pat. And that's the way it turned out. And
Can a spotter pilot see the whips?
yeah, they could see them. What boat were we on the Taylor's Creek when right off Davis Island, Dick's wife June. There was a place of those corpsmen, and there were so many of them. They looked like a school of fish in the water showing the color.
Where was this?
Off of Davis Island down the when you turn Marshallburg, head on up toward Davis, and they went right in off of Davis Island, the main part of it. That's where the great big 3-story house built there. I don't know who lived in it, whose it was, but anyway. She went there and said, Jimmy, and when he come together, them corpsmen jumped up and flew. Said, Captain Jimmy.
Oh, cormorants were on them.
Said, Captain Jimmy, the color just jumped up and flew away out of your net.
Who said that?
That's what June, Dick Rod's wife, Junebug, they call her.
Was she a pilot?
Yeah, she would fly that when Dick was flying outside with the big boats.
There was a female fish spotter?
But Dick heard her, that was her last flight. He fired her.
The color just...
She told Jimmy, said, Captain Jimmy, said the color had just jumped up out your net and flew away.
All it was a pile of cormorants sitting in the water.
Well, you know, when you went out with us on the Taylor Creek, you went to first boat that morning down to Orchard Creek, you know, and we caught a load of fish that day. Remember, we had a big set of fish there when you went in the first boat.
Yep. When was the last time you went fishing?
What, shad fishing? I believe it was in 92. I was on over with Jimmy. That was the last year I fished. But I had done started drawing that's when when I come from Louisiana in 91, I put in for my Social Security and I started drawing it in February of 92. And that was the last year I fished.
And then did Jimmy get sick after that? Or did he keep fishing? Didn't he get sick after that?
I don't even want to get on the water no more, Barbara.
Yeah.
I had 54 years at Menhaden fishing.
Right. But did Jimmy keep fishing after that?
There after Piggy stepped down, you know, Jewel took over. He got that boy from Virginia, wasn't it, David Haney? They fished, he come down and got Taylor's Creek and carried her up in Virginia.
And that was the end of the sound fishery.
I believe that was it, because that was the last boat that Piggy had built, steel boat, and
that was a sweet little boat.
Scared good fish. We made some good paydays on her.
Yeah. Well, what else would you like to add about your whole experience?
About what?
Your whole experience in this business.
Well, I told you about the shrimp. Of course, Jewel give it.
You did tell me about that.
Yeah, the shrimp down the Cape, and well, I went to Louisiana down there, do like with David Yates, cooked for him in 90, 91, and had a fellow from Moorhead pilot for him, Stacy Willis, and we were there east, the Oyster Bayou there east of Morgan City Bar that morning, and David got Stacy to run the cat boat in the net for him, you know, and we got alongside those fish. They were in the mud, and they come up and went what they call it pushing. The solid color come on up to the top of the water, and you could stand there on deck and look at them. They were just as solid as they could be. And we went across the mouth of the net and filled her full of fish, and he filled both holes, about 1,400 tiles in one set. And I told David, I said, you see, your pilot is just as good a captain as you are. That knocked his feathers down when I said that. He didn't like that.
Were you the pilot?
No, I was cook.
Oh, you were the cook.
Yep, I cooked on down there 2 years for him. The only reason I went, you catch 40 million down there. You go above 40, everybody got a raise. I think mine was 7 cents above. The cook's pay was, I think, 33 cents. And it went up to from 33 to 40 cents. And I made over $20,000 the two summers I went down there, you know.
Not bad, huh?
For 6 months.
Yeah.
And the best I ever done was on the 87 88 on the regular pool with Bobo. When Shag got off, I went and cooked for Bobo.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the boat made 12 trips to Georgia that summer. But we wound up with 88 million for the whole year. That was a good season, and I think my money was for the whole year was about 23 or 24,000, something like that. It's been so long. But the time when I fell in the galley, we had been fishing up Oregon Inlet, had a load of fish, and we come down and laid back to Lighthouse. I think it was a day and a night, and waited for the wind to come around to the northwest. And that next morning, I put breakfast on the table before we got around the knuckle, and we walked the rake buoy off there, and it was a right big swell then, and I was cleaning off the front table in the galley there, and I went to step over the threshold into the main galley, and she hit one of them swells and fell right down hard to the port. And the floor was wet right there at that threshold from a 5-gallon bucket that the boys stayed up top above the galley there in the room, had under air conditioning. The bucket had turned over, and that's where that water had come from. And my hip popped just like a gun going off. I thought I had broke it. And I laid there. Finally, Barry Fraser and Bobo's mate there, they called him Bud Duke. Devon Fraser was his name, but they called him Bud Duke. And they helped me up, and I went and got in the bunk. And when we got to the factory, I don't know who it was, carried me to the hospital. And they x-rayed my hip. And I went to Dr. Way with it. And he told me to stay off the boat for 2 weeks. The next week, Shag went to my place. And then the next week, Alan, Jimmy's brother, he went. And I'm just thankful I didn't break my hip, Barbara.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Because I had talked with Tommy Moore. He was pilot on that when Elwood first got the Gravy Pool. But Marvin Lewis was on there with Bobo pilot. But I had talked with Tommy, and he got hurt on the Gravy Pool up in the wheelhouse. And he got one of those Resnick lawyers out of Raleigh to represent him, and he sued the company. He got a big pile of money out of it. And he gave me that lawyer's telephone number in Raleigh, and I called him and talked with him and told him what had happened and everything. And he said if They have an operation and everything, said get in touch with him. But he got back to Jewel, somebody on the boat, when I went back after 2 weeks I was off. I think Bobo got a hold of it, and he went to Jewel and told him about it. I was going to sue him if I'd have went the limit on him as far as I could, and as much as I could have got for him. Because if I'd have broke my hip, that would have been all up for me.
Yeah.
And I was going to sue him and the insurance company. We were catching harrybacks there. It was I believe, in October. And we come in that day, it was on a Monday, and there was some groceries stuff I forgot to get, and I went out to the store while they were unloading the boat, and when I went back down there, I went and put the groceries on the boat, and Bobo come down, I said, you get through, come up there, Jewel wants to talk to you. So the 2 weeks I had was off, they caught 3,300 and 33,000 fish.
Mm-hmm.
And went in there, he said, would you take $500 for the 2 weeks you was off the boat? I said, nope. I said, Jewel, you pay me cook's pay for the amount of fish that the boat caught while I was off of her. And nothing come out, no tax or no grub, because I wasn't on no grub bill. I said, that's what I'll settle for. But Bobo had told him I had talked to that Resnick lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Their home office is in Baltimore, Maryland. But anyway, that Coast Guardman's wife, Barbara, was working in that end.
Yeah.
You remember her?
I do.
Secretary. And we come in, I don't know what day it was, but they called me up to that office, and she had a check for me for 2 million fish. And I didn't cash it, and went fishing the next day. We were coming in the cup, we had a load of fish that next day, and was coming down the cut there, I went on the wheel, I showed Bobo that check. I said, she still owes me for $1,333,000 that she didn't pay me for. She was supposed to pay me for the whole catch, the 2 weeks I was off. And when we went off there, and he told us that you still owe Bill some money. Boy, she turned just as red in the face as like she got mad. I said, well, you knew I was off the boat 2 weeks. You should have paid me the full amount to start with. She made out another check for me, and
Oh, good.
that was it.
Phew. Yeah.
But when Bobo first started fishing back there in '75, he was on the tail of Atlantic field over me and Jimmy. I took him down the mate boat and showed him how about setting ring, cork thrower, throwing corks, and Clyde, my boy, was ring setter. And both of them caught right on to it, because Clyde had been on her ever since I fished her when he was little, 5, 6 years old. I'd take him on Saturdays, and just one of them color fellows from Harlow, Lindbergh Fraser, his boy, Lindbergh Jr., he would take him on Saturdays, and I can see both of them right now on deck after we bailed out of fish with them shovel there, and scattered fish on deck, pushing them through the deck plates.
Aww.
And here they are.
And they were pretty young, huh?
Here they are. Clyde, he turned 54 in August. And he's got a good job to the port.
Yep.
He's just about ready to retire from over there.
That's good.
I think he's got 33 years.
Well, what do you think now here in Beaufort, where there's no factory left?
Or what?
What do you think about Beaufort now that there's no factory?
Well, it won't know anymore, Barbara. When Jewel closed that one down, that was the end of it.
Yeah. I'm going to wind it up because we've been talking for over an hour.
All right, we'll cut that off. I want you to read some of that stuff I had wrote down on there.
Okay. But was there anything you wanted to add before I cut it off?
Not that I know of. That I worked hard at it to try to get my 3 children educated, and I enjoyed it. Wasn't a bit. And my crew of men that I had from Harlow were the older fellas, and I was the youngest man on the boat. And they wanted to work. They begged me. Did you put that net overboard? We'll get her back. Mm-hmm. And Jim and Allen went up there, Frank Buttress, 3 times. They couldn't hire a man. And I was working on the Nancy, one of Charles Davis's boats, and that spring flounder fishing out there to the Cape with Carol Willis. And the last week I worked on it, I made over $1,200 there in 4 nights and 4 days on there, with just 3 of us on the boat. And when he took his son back on that, that's when I quit. I gave Jimmy a week's notice. I said, I'll let you know something if he takes Anthony back on there. I'm getting off. And like I said, I gave him a week's notice. And that Saturday we went up there to Harlow, and the first place I stopped was the Lindberghs. And when he saw me, he come out the front door there on his porch there laughing and said, I know what you want. I said, yep, look at me. And then went on the poppers, you know. And when he come out there, you couldn't see nothing but that gold. You remember his top teeth were all gold.
I remember that.
He's got false teeth now, Barbara. But went there to poppers, and he said, yeah, you look at me. And I said, yep, we're going back fishing. And them fellas, him and Lindbergh, and there was one more, Rufus Carter, that lived over on the other side of the creek, they call it, up at the Harlow, other side of the Cherry Branch Road. And we scrapped up enough, let's see, I believe it was 4 cutter fellas on there. Joe Carter, he went with us. Mm-hmm. He was on there. But we got a good crew of men together there, and everybody went willing to work. Frank Butcher was on there, a fellow named Bill Denoria.
What year about was this?
75.
Uh-huh.
Did I tell you about over that Ada trailer, the West Beaufort at the boat ramp, the wildlife built there by her trailer?
No.
Her son, Jerry, was back there about 3 months ago. Was there, had a computer there on it. And he brought this picture up there about the net house down yonder. And there was BF, that flat. We were there working on a cork line on a net, and Jerry zoomed it in, enlarged it there. Look, he said, "That's you, Bill, standing there on this side of BL."
That's funny.
But he brought. I don't know how it got on that computer, but I miss him too, because he was a good worker. Flat was, and after William Harry took it over, things changed. I didn't work with him. Things changed.
In the net house.
Yeah, and then when Lee got it, I worked in there with him and Nadine.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, let me turn this off. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you again for joining us to The Landing. This podcast is brought to you by the Core Sound Waterfowl Museum and Heritage Center. I am your host, Stacy Davis Baisden, and today's podcast was produced by April Davidson. Tune in next week as we continue learning, sharing, and remembering together. If you'd like to hear more, check out our previous episodes where you get your podcasts. Until then, stay safe and be kind.